Hey guys, welcome to another Law Today video. In today's video, we'll be looking into the Indian Penal Code. We have been facing a lot of lockdowns and a lot of home quarantines for those who have been traveling abroad. And we have also been witnessing people who are violating these lockdown norms or even violating home quarantine norms, and they are booked under certain sections of the Indian Penal Code. Now we look into the provisions in this video. So what exactly is the law relating to lockdowns and home quarantines? What happens if you step out during these times? What happens if you violate the rules made by your regulatory authority? And what does the law have to say about this? This is going to be dealt in this video. Welcome again, and we'll move into the provisions of the law. The first thing that we have to understand is, for every offense there is going to be a provision under the penal laws for which you can be punished. If not, you cannot be punished. So that's a simple logic which we have to understand. So if at all the law enforcing authorities, aka the police, if they are catching you for some reason, there has to be a corresponding provision or a law which relates to the power which is given to them to investigate or even catch hold of you or put you in prison or put a fine on you, or so on and so forth. So we have to look into the certain provisions of IPC to understand what exactly are relevant when we look into the provisions in terms of lockdowns and home quarantines. So the first thing that we have to look into is section 269 of the IPC, which talks about a person who negligently spreads an infection. Then we have section 270, a person who malignantly acts or spreads an infection which is dangerous to life. Then we have section 188 of the IPC, which is regarding the disobedience of an order promulgated by a public servant. All these provisions relate to the Indian Penal Code, which is enacted in the year 1860. So we will also have to look into whether these provisions have been used in the past. COVID is not the first situation that we are facing. We have had other diseases as well which are dangerous to life and which are infectious in nature. In 1886, the Madras High Court had a case regarding a person who travelled during the quarantine period. He violated the norms of quarantine. He was a cholera patient and he had travelled in the train during that period. So he was basically booked under section 269 of IPC for his negligent act, and also the person who bought him the ticket was also held liable for abetting the offence. That being said, now let's look into the provisions of the Indian Penal Code. So starting with 269 of IPC, we will have a clear idea of what exactly does the section say. So if at all someone negligently acts and he carries a disease which is likely to spread infection among the people, and this disease is dangerous to life, then he shall be punished with an imprisonment of 6 months or a fine or both. So when it comes to section 269, we can be thinking of imprisonment of 6 months or a fine. The amount has not been stated, or it can be both together. So this is section 269 with regard to negligent act. Now we have a slightly graver offense which is under 270, which states that if a person malignantly acts and it's likely to spread an infection of a disease dangerous to life, then he shall be imprisoned for a period up to 2 years or with fine or both. So in this section we have to understand the term malignantly. So when we look at malignantly, we have to understand that it's a deliberate intention. The intention is what matters. In the first case, he's negligent. Here, he's malignant. So when we speak malignant, he understands the consequence to an extent, he deliberately does the act in spite of knowing. So when the act is malignant and there is a chance that he is likely to spread the infection, then he can be punished with 2 years of imprisonment plus a fine, which is not stated. The amount can be anything, plus it can also be both. It can either be one of the two or both. The basic difference between these two sections is that when it was a negligent act, you only had a 6 months imprisonment, but when it comes to malignant act, it goes up to 2 years. So the next important provision under law that we have to look into is section 188 of the Indian Penal Code. I understand this section is pretty big. I have broken it down on the right hand side of the video. I will explain it to you in the same. So the first thing that we have to understand is this section relates to disobedience to an order promulgated by a public servant. So the first thing that we have to look into, or the first essential, is that there has to be an order. So the first aspect is there has to be an order which is given by a public servant, which he is directing that person or persons to abstain from certain act or to take certain order with certain property in his possession or under his management. In spite of saying all this, they are disobeying the act of or the order, and which is causing danger to life, health or safety. I am skipping this part intentionally because it is not relevant for this video. We have to look into the part wherein there is an order and the person is violating the order, which causes danger to life, health or safety, or causes or tends to cause riot or affray. So we have to just look into this part of the section for the application in terms of COVID-19 lockdown norms or home quarantine norms. So what is the punishment that can be levied upon these type of people? It can either be imprisonment, or it can be a fine, or it can be both again. So when it comes to imprisonment, it can extend up to 6 months, and when it's fine, it can go up to 1,000 rupees. So there is also an explanation part in the section which further states that it does not have to necessarily, if at all somebody steps out and nothing happens, it doesn't mean they can escape the law. If there is an order and if you disobey it, regardless of what the effects are, it does not matter. You can be put into a prison, or you can be fined for this act. So wherever there is an order, you cannot violate. So I request all the viewers to please stay at home if you are under lockdown, or stay at home if you are traveling abroad and coming back and you have to undergo home quarantine. Please do stay at home, stay safe, be a law-abiding citizen. And thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye. See you. Bye-bye.